In today's lesson, we're going to cover how to sew EL piping onto fabric. This is not standard EL piping. Normal piping you would see would just kind of look like the edge of it does. This has some welting on the side, which we can use to sew into the seam. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this piece of test fabric. We are going to create a seam, and we're going to go ahead and sew this EL piping with welting directly in there, and then when we turn it inside out, you're going to see we have a clean EL piping on the edge of the seam that can be illuminated for your projects. For this tutorial, we're going to just show how to sew this EL piping with welting into the sample piece of fabric. So I'm going to create an artificial seam, but this would be something that you might see if you were creating a pillow or something else where you'd like to have EL lighting on the edge. Now, you may have seen some techniques on the web where people are stapling this in, they're gluing it in, they're sewing it in by hand. We feel that this method creates a nice clean seam that gives you a retail look to your project. So I'm going to go ahead and fold this in. So we are doing the inside sewing of this project. I want to get the welting as closely tucked in as I can. Now, you could pin this if you wanted. You could also use some tack adhesive. So our sewing machine is set up with a welting foot. You probably can't see it on the video, but underneath here there's an archway that allows the piping component to go through without getting crushed, which is important. You can purchase those feet for your sewing machines. I'm going to lower the presser foot, and we're going to get the needle right along the edge of that piping. And once we're satisfied that it's there, I'm going to slowly tack it down. Now, I ran that off the edge so you can see how the sewing goes into the tack strip there. Pull this out, and when you open it up to the right side, you see you've got a nice clean seam with the EL piping there with nothing funny sticking out because all that stuff is sewn here straight in the back. Look how nice that looks. Here we have the finished project. You have the EL wire sewn in to the fabric using the welting. And off screen I've got an inverter hooked up through the clips here. I'm going to go ahead and turn it on, and you can see that the EL wire lights up, and you've got a nice looking seam for your projects. And that's how we sew EL wire with welting to fabric. Here is the EL piping sewn into the fabric. It's hooked up to the inverter, ready to be illuminated. And I'm going to go ahead and turn it on. And there you see it. You've got a beautiful glowing EL wire perfectly hidden in the seam of fabric for any project.